Hello, welcome to the OTB channel. Hope you all had a good Christmas and you're looking forward to the new year. Today I'm going to take a second look at EndeavourOS. I looked at it when it first came out back in July, when it rose from the ashes of what was Antigos, which shut down in May, which was a real shame. But I was impressed by my first look. It installed an Arch system with a themed XFCE desktop, and I was able to get a Mate desktop installed using standard Arch commands. The latest release from last week introduces the online installer, or the Net-Installer, which will automatically install your desktop of choice. Let's have a look. So, EndeavourOS. It's not often that I do a second review of a distro quite so soon after the first one, but back in July I was really impressed with this operating system. It was the first time I'd used a system that installed an Arch distro using a Calamaris installer, and essentially, apart from some minor customizations such as icons and wallpaper, it was pure Arch. Okay, it had a custom repository with a few of its own bits and pieces such as Yay already installed, but it produced a really clean Arch desktop. And I installed it on my one of my SSDs and used it for a month or two before replacing it with Arch itself. Now, I know Arch isn't for everyone, but looking at the views that the Zen installer had, clearly there's lots of you out there who are looking for a quick and easy way to get an Arch system up and running. Endeavour certainly allows for that. At the time, it just allowed you to install XFCE from scratch. You could, of course, go out and install any desktop just like you could on a standard system, but it wasn't configured from the point where you reboot after the installation. And they've taken a little while to get this right. In fact, if we just have a quick look at their page and we go to the latest release, you'll see that they're now proud to present EndeavourOS from the 22nd of December 2019. It is a 64-bit distro, and it has the latest Net-Installer integrated into the Calamaris installer. You can install XFCE, which is the one that it comes with automatically in its offline installer. And if you install XFCE, it is fully customized. It will, however, allow you to install pretty much any desktop you want. Mate, LXQT, Cinnamon, Plasma, GNOME, Budgie or Deepin. And the only proviso is that if you install an alternative desktop other than XFCE, it's not themed or customized in any way. It's just as you would get from Arch. Now, it looks like we're quite lucky to have got this on the 22nd, because back on the 20th, the scheduled release of the Net-Installer was actually postponed. Apparently, there was a few problems. There was a big Xorg cleaning update, and yeah, there was a few issues. It wasn't working properly, but they managed to sort it fast, so it would be rude not to have a look at it. Now, a word of warning. Arch is a rolling release distro, as you all know. EndeavourOS has built up a reputation of being very, very community friendly as far as their forum is concerned. So you will get help there should you need it. However, Arch is a little bit different to the likes of Linux Mint. And like all Arch systems, you will occasionally suffer from problems that you will have to figure out how to fix. So you should bear that in mind before installing it. It's not that it's difficult to maintain, but as a rolling release, it tends to be bleeding edge. If you want a bleeding edge distro, this is a fine distro to install, but please just keep that in mind. Anyway, let's fire it up, see what we think. So in front of you, you should see VirtualBox. I've set it up with the normal settings, 8 gig of RAM, 32 gig virtual hard drive. I've given it 2 threads of my i5 processor, and I've set it up in EFI mode. So let's start and see what happens. And here it is booting, and it goes straight to the EFI loader, which is great. And if VirtualBox sticks to what it normally does, we'll have a little bit of a gap before it fully starts booting and we see some sort of interaction on the screen in front of us. I don't expect any issues though. This was a pretty damn good distro when I last tested it back in July. I don't expect that to have changed, but I do like to test everything in EFI mode just to make sure that it works properly. Hopefully we're going to see something scrolling past us in a second, but VirtualBox can take a little while to get this right. And now we see the system has finally started. I don't criticize Endeavour for this. This is purely down to VirtualBox. It seems to be booting okay so far. Running a start job. Never quite sure why these things seem to take so long, but anyway, never mind. It's now booting into the desktop, and once it's booted into the desktop, we'll see if we can full screen it. I'm not sure whether the guest editions are already installed in this. I can't quite remember from the last time I did it. But, oh, right, okay. The install screen's already started, but just let's try and get this into full screen mode. Okay. Settings. Let's have a look. Display. Resolution in VirtualBox, 1920 by 1080. Apply. Ah, right. So guest editions are obviously already installed. So that's quite nice to see an installer window. Start the installer, update the app, initialize Pacman keys, latest release info. We can even run a partition manager, which I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's G-parted. Let's just hit start the installer and see what happens. Do I want the offline installer or the online? Well, this is all about testing that online installer. I know it installs a decent XFCE desktop, but I'd like to install the Mate desktop, and I know it's just going to have default theming. So let's click OK. Let's set our language to British English. Click Next. It's already picked up where I am, the correct time zone. It's picked up the correct keyboard. I want to erase the disk. It's picked up its EFI, which is great. I don't want to encrypt it, so I'm just going to click Next. And we get the option of installing XFCE, Mate, KDE, GNOME, Cinnamon, Budgie, Deepin, LXQT, printing support, accessibility tools, and if you need NVIDIA, the NVIDIA driver. So let's just click on Mate, and you know what? Let's hit printing support as well and click Next. And I'll set it up with my normal username and password. Do I want to log in automatically? No, I don't, but I will use the same password for the root account. And I'll hit next. Am I sure? Yes, please. It's about to make changes. I won't be able to undo them. All good. Install now, please. And here we go. I'll speed up this section until we get to the end. Right, so we're all done now. It seemed to hang for an awful long time on 59%. I'm not quite sure what that was all about. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut this down. I'm just going to make sure the ISO has been removed. And we'll boot into it and see where we've got. So, 17 minutes to install. I expected it to be a little bit longer than you would normally see if it was just unsquashing packages, because it is actually getting the packages from the net. But 17 minutes isn't quick just to install Mate. Nevertheless, let's start it up and see what happens. I've removed the ISO now. So we'll go straight into full screen mode. I quite like the boot splash there. And it seems to be starting without a problem. So far, so good. And yes, we've got to the login screen, and it's remained in full screen, 1920 by 1080. So let me just log in. I'm expecting to see a plain Mate desktop here. Do I want to change my wallpaper to the Endeavour one? Well, yeah, let's click yes. Okay, that's quite nice. So it's a basic Mate desktop, but very, very quickly customizable by adding their custom wallpaper. And we have this little screen here, which I quite like. So update mirrors. Let's go through it and see what it all does. Update mirrors. Where do I want to be? Well, I want to be in United Kingdom. And actually, it's already ticked. So, okay, that's fine. Save to etc pacman.d mirror list. Yeah, why not? I'll just enter my password to do that. So that's nice and straightforward. Let's detect package issues. I'm a little bit worried at how it hung on 59% for a while. No system package problems were detected. Okay, good. What about updates? I'm assuming this is pretty up to date, as it was only released on the 22nd of December, and so it would appear. Okay, great. EndeavourOS to the latest. Show what to do to get your system to the latest EndeavourOS level. The following actions are needed. Okay, I'm already at that level, so nothing else. Change display manager. Actually, it's on light DM at the moment. I want to keep it on light DM, but by the looks of this, I can very quickly change it to GDM, LXDM or SDDM, which I would want if I was using Plasma. Okay, that's handy. EndeavourOS wallpaper. We've already done that, so we'll leave that as is. Package management. How to manage packages with Pacman. Okay, so it goes to the EndeavourOS wiki by the look of it, or documents, and straight to the links of how to update. What about AUR and Yay? I don't know if Yay's installed here. In fact, let's just open a terminal. Oh. I don't know if sudo's installed either, but let's find out. So, Yay, SYU. So sudo is installed from scratch. So is multilib by the look of it. And so is the EndeavourOS repo. Fine. So if I click AUR in Yay, right, that also takes me to a web link telling me what I need to enter in order to install packages. Great. So Yay is installed. Hardware and network. Okay, again, it's an article for printers, the NVIDIA installer, adding swap after installation, CPU frequency scaling, how to enable trim for SSDs. That's really nice. Presumably this is how to... oh no, it's another link. How to install and set up Bluetooth. Okay, so a lot of this is still manual. For NVIDIA users, let's just click that. I presume it's going to go to another link. Couldn't be more helpful, really, could it? And forum tips. Which looks like it's a link to some fairly important commands. I'm actually quite impressed with that. What about add more apps? Install popular apps. LibreOffice, Firewall, the Chromium web browser. What have we got by default? So I'm presuming it's all just the standard Mate apps, and it seems to be. Yeah, so let's just do a test here and install the Chromium web browser. Oh, for some reason that didn't type in. And off it goes, and it starts installing it. That's nice and neat for someone new to this distribution. It's retrieving packages, but it's not doing a lot with them at the moment. Okay, finished. So if we go to our internet menu, there's Chromium. Okay, well, let's shut this down. So far, so good. It's the standard sort of menu you get on a vanilla installation, but I see print settings is already there. You'll remember that I clicked on add print packages in the Net-Installer configuration. Let's see if it picks up my printer. It's a network printer. It's a Canon MG5600. Okay, let's go forward. It's searching for drivers. It's still searching for drivers. We'll see what it comes up with here. If this allows me to print immediately, I'll be very impressed. Normally this printer can be a little bit tricky. And I often have to go to the Canon website. Let's just click apply. There was an error during the cups operation. Okay, so that's not worked. Let's go back. Let's try setting it up another way. As I said, normally this requires more than just me doing something like this. I will normally go to the Canon website or the AUR more often than not, and server error, internal error, cup server error. Okay, well, so that didn't work. We'll just leave that for the time being. Printing can sometimes be a bit hit and miss. I would normally install all of the Guten print packages and everything else going and eventually get it to work. There's my network connection. What about per Mac? Let's have a look. System tools, maybe. Packages. Add or remove software installed on your system. Okay, so let's just have a look at cups. So it's install the printer backend, Google Cloud Print, the cups printing system. Okay, there are no doubt quite a few other things that it would be useful to have, but printing sometimes does take a little bit of fiddling, especially with Canon printers. So what have we got here then? I'm interested to see that we don't actually have per Mac. Let's see if we can install per Mac, which would be my my preference. So yay. Okay, yay. SYU. Let's try this again. Yay. I think it might be per Mac AUR. I'm probably spelling this wrong. Here we go. Enter a number. 1 is the default. Remove dependencies after install. Yes. Diffs to show none. And proceed with installation. So let's just get this installed. It shouldn't take too long. And that should then give us a package manager that appears as soon as we log into the system. Right, so that's per Mac installed, theoretically. Let's go and see if we can find it. Sometimes takes a while to appear. Let's try launching it with a terminal. Okay, doesn't like that. Let's try per Mac Manager. Aha. And so we have it. Right, okay. Let's go now to Preferences. AUR, enable AUR support. Okay, and close that. Right, so categories. Let's have a look at the repositories. So we have core, extra, community, and multi-lib. We also have EndeavourOS's own repo, and it's added the ArcX icons, the Endeavour keyring, the mirror list, theming, the EOS update notifier, Grub2 themes, the NVIDIA installer, etc., etc. Not a huge amount of packages, really. This is pretty much a standard Arch system, just with a few extra bits and pieces installed. So let's just come out of that. So what have we actually got on the system? So we've got HP Device Manager, Eye of Mate. We now have Chromium installed as well as Firefox. HP UIS scan, so that's for HP scanners. An icon browser. Celluloid MPV media player and the pulse audio volume control. And then Kaja. Is it Kaja or Kaha? I can never remember how you actually pronounce that. Manage printing. Oh, that's the CUPS web interface. Package updater. Power stats. I'll tell you what, let's have a look at HTOP and see where we are. Wow. 360 megs. That's pretty light. That really is quite light. Personally, I would normally add to panel and I would install a different menu, but that's just me. The custom menu, is that the one? Let's just have a look. No, it might be that one. Yeah, I'd install something like that, or the Brisk menu or Breeze menu, whatever it's called. But let me just get rid of them. Not a lot more to say, guys. This is a very easy install of an Arch system with a Mate desktop. It's very pretty. I think it's useful that we can now actually install Mate without having to go into the terminal and do it ourselves. And it's nicely themed. It's a shame it didn't print. In fact, I'm going to give it a second go at that just to see if we can add a printer again. I've just paused the video here, guys, to save you a little bit of time. I did manage to get printing started, but rather than going through all my missteps, we'll pick up back where I've actually succeeded. Okay, a quick jump here. Printing caused me a few issues, but I have now got it working, and I've managed to print a test page without a problem. I'll show you it when I get back. The answer, as I sort of expected, was to install the Canon printers, which are in the AUR. Canon Pixma MG5500. It's the 5650, but these drivers work fine with it. Once I'd done that, I was able to add my printer from the standard print settings, and all was good. So a bit of a dodgy printer. You may be luckier, but this one always causes me a few problems. So I'm not going to hold EndeavourOS up for criticism as far as that's concerned, because the drivers at the end of the day were in the AUR, which is one of the great things about Arch. So let's have a chat about this. So that's EndeavourOS's Net-Installer. Seems to work really well. I'm not surprised. There was a few issues initially. With the big Xorg update in Arch, I had to overcome a few issues on the last update that I ran earlier today. And I have to admit that when it stalled at 59% and just hung there for a while, I thought, maybe this isn't going to work. But it did. Everything worked well, and I got a nice Mate desktop. If you're looking for an Arch system that is easy to install and will get you up and running with something pretty near to vanilla Arch, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend EndeavourOS. A lot of you seem to like the Zen installer, and that worked well as well. But if you want straightforward Calamaris, so next, EndeavourOS is the one for you. Anyway, guys, just one more to consider. On the next video, I'm going to depart from Arch, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been trying to sort out over the Christmas period, which is building my own respin of Debian stable. And it's not been without its problems, but we're almost there. But anyway, until then, see you next time.